So now we really get started here. We're done with the frame stuff for now, and we're going to get on to doing our floor. I think we'll do the floor layout first. Okay, so the first step is to figure out the width of my camper box. We want it a little wider than the frame, and mostly because we figure we have a molding that goes down and around the whole thing and needs to go underneath it. And that molding is about 1 1/8 inches thick. So I need to make sure that we got the room between, how the box overhangs and that molding that will circle underneath. So, and the other thing about this frame, I didn't build it, someone else did. It's not perfect, it's not perfectly square. So the dimension kind of waves in and out a little bit. So I'm gonna try to get an overall measurement here and then go from there. So that's 4'8". I guess that's actually what I was thinking. Now the disadvantage to having it more than 48 inches is I can't just use one piece of plywood, because this original plan was 4'8", but I'm wider. I'm 4'8", so I'm a few inches. So that means I'm gonna have to turn my pieces of plywood sideways, and it's gonna take 2 sheets, and I gotta make sure they lay out on each support. So that's gonna increase the cost, isn't it? That's more materials, and but from there, I mean, that's the way it is, though. The advantage is I'm gonna have a wider trailer, wider sleeping room, wider in the kitchen for wider drawers, or maybe more than just 2. I could have 3 across, but we'll see how that lays out. We'll take it one step at a time here. So let's get started on the floor and try to figure out not only where each one of those sheets is gonna lay out, where my supports need to go, because it's a little different here. I've got that battery box to consider, and I also think I want to cut that hole out as I build the frame. I don't want to do it after. There we go. Length is good. Okay. Yeah, let's do our next piece. Now. Get a couple clamps. It's nice and straight. Okay, that's the basis of our layout. It looks good. Okay, so we've got the framing all set. And the next step is to add insulation to the inside of these little panels. Now you might wonder, why is the layout the way it is? It doesn't seem to have a rhyme or reason, does it? But basically the frame I have dictated where those cross pieces had to be. So they're not evenly spaced necessarily, though I don't think that's too bad. We went wider here because of the pan for the battery. So that one rail just runs alongside this piece here. So that's what that is. And then of course this here was dictated by the seam and the plywood. But I think, you know, this will be fine. We get the foam, which will be tight and flush. So once it's all put together, it'll be one unit, self-supporting unit. It's just critical that we're able to bolt through at these points. All right, so I took a little bit of time and cut up my foam board and got it all inserted in the open spaces on our floor. Next step is to add the 1/4 inch Luan, which is the bottom side, which is here. And then we're gonna add waterproofing underneath that, because that'll be the part that'll be exposed under the trailer. Some people use the fiberglass Phylon under that. Because I have rubber roofing, I think I'm gonna use that rubber roofing. I'm gonna just glue it on the bottom, and I think that'll work really good. It's actually probably more expensive than the Phylon, but I have a roll here, so I might as well use it. And you can see I also left open the area where the battery box lid will be. I probably should get that taken care of, get the lid made before I close the 1/4 inch Luan on top of that. And that way we know where the opening is. So those will be the challenges that we'll go on to next. And we'll also do the sides, will be the other project. And that's probably the most interesting part, how we can get our teardrop shape, which will be cut into the side panels. So stay tuned. We have that coming up. Okay, so we're just about ready to put our 1/4 inch Luan on the bottom, or the top, however you look at it. I just wanted to show you, I got the layout for the battery box. And when you flip it over, you'll see that I have a recess there for the plywood lid to sit on it. Okay, so we got everything marked, so we know where our layout is, and we're gonna do 2 sheets because it's wider than 4 feet. And we'll have a little 3/4 inch setback here. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a 3/4 inch piece of wood here, because we have a 3/4 inch overlap, and that's where the sidewall is actually gonna sit. So I'll tack a piece of 3/4 on there, and then we can just router it all out. That makes things easy, doesn't it? Hello, battery. Well, perfect timing. UPS truck just came by just a few minutes ago. Well, that's not very good. Can you see it? Oh. Got our doors just in time. So you can see I went for black. Guess I'm committed to it now. All right, everyone, it's another day here, and yesterday I finished up my floor for the Teardrop, and while I laid in bed thinking about how things were going and reviewing in my head what was what, I realized I made a mistake here for the battery box. So if you recall, the depth for my batteries to fit, I need to take advantage of all this space. So even though this will allow me to put a battery in, I need all this length here because the box is 14 inches. So I've got to cut this out, but I'll leave the 1/2 inch plywood, and I need that depth to slide the battery in. So I screwed up, but we'll fix it. It's doable. Better to catch it now than when I was trying to stick the battery in there and it won't fit, right? When everything's all together. So I'll fix that today, and maybe we'll see about getting the roofing, rubber roofing on the bottom of that as well. So if you recall, the reason that this opening under here has to be only this wide is because the galley wall is going to be just about here on the other side. So the opening to the battery can only go this far, but on the underside here we can go this as deep as we need to. Well, there you go. It shows you how well these things hold together. Constructed well. Okay, so I got it all cut out. I ended up just taking a piece of 1/2 inch plywood just to seal off where the foam insulation would show on the edge. I was able to add a piece there so it flushes this out. And you see here I put a little angle here, and just figure if you happen to be sliding the battery, it makes it a little easier if it hits that edge. But there's plenty of room between the two for that battery to slide in. And probably what I'll do once this glue sets, when I flip it over, I'll staple the plywood from the underside, and then I'll just kind of, I think I'm going to spray paint this black just to kind of go with, you know, when you look into it, it'll look finished. All right, I've dug out the rubber from the other barn, and I cut about a 5-foot section off it, and I just cut it to the length I need. So this is all ready to go. What I like about this is not the cheap stuff. This is the thicker commercial version. So I think it'll work really well on the bottom here to keep it waterproof, as well as, you know, it's not going to tear very easily if things hit it. And I just think overall it's gonna work real well. I guess my only concern is how easily I can trim it. You know, it's so rubbery, it's hard to, I guess with a good sharp knife, I should be able to follow along this if I flip it over and put something to cut against. Anyway, let's stick it on. There, I think that trimmed up quite nicely. Okay, we've got it all trimmed up here. Got to open our battery box. I've left this piece of 3/4 inch 1x2 on here because when I stand it up to flip it, I lean it on that edge. So that's just there as a temporary crutch, if you will. Yeah. All right, let's flip it and start adding walls. Well, that's it for now on our teardrop build. I do appreciate you all watching, and I look forward to seeing you here again.